In the feature lightweight bout, Beniel Dariush and Edson Barboza fought. This was a fight that heading in I had described as a really interesting fight for me because I believe that with Edson Barboza, a lot of the opponents that give him trouble are the guys who crowd him. He fought really well against Antony Pettis because Pettis likes to strike from the outside. That was one of his more impressive fights. He did really well against Gilbert Melendez as well. Now, Gilbert was trying to crowd him, but he was mostly doing it with a boxing attack. Beniel Dariush has a really good Muay Thai game. He's good at getting in the clinch. He's really strong in the clinch, has good knees, good elbows. Really likes to come forward, swing hard, take away your space. And I was interested to see how Edson Barboza would handle that, whether he would be able to kind of counter that or if Dariush would be able to kind of bully him, get him to the ground especially. And with Dariush's game where I know he went to ADCC in Jiu-Jitsu. I don't remember what he finished. I feel like it was 4th or somewhere pretty high. So he's an excellent grappler. That's the point that I'm trying to get at right there. So it'd be interesting to see if he could actually get Edson down, which is a very difficult task to do, what he'd be able to do on top and how he'd be able to handle it. Didn't get him down, but in the first round, very effective at closing the range. Landed a lot of good punches, landed some good kicks, was really good at masking his kicks as far as whether he was going legs, head, body. Barboza still landed some pretty hard kicks in that round, no less. He landed some really hard body kicks that I was surprised that Dariush was able to eat so well. It looked like they were pretty painful. Also landed a couple good leg kicks, but again, really good showing from Dariush. He won that round. Going into the second, again, a lot of the same stuff was going on. Dariush seemed to be slightly ahead of Edson Barboza. Went for a jab, sort of like a fake jab to set up a takedown attempt. Was a little bit too far out of range, and when he went for it, Barboza just jumped into a flying knee, cracked him, finished him. I mean, once that knee landed, Dariush was out. He went to the mat. Barboza sort of landed a punch. It was a pretty light one, but you could tell he knew that Dariush was out. Ref just came flying in, which was nice to see that he was in such a rush to make sure that Dariush didn't take any more unnecessary damage. But at that point, fight was over. Barboza knew that it was over. He didn't really go about throwing any unnecessary shots after that. For Barboza now, with him being a top 5 fighter heading into that fight, this definitely keeps him right where he's at. As far as who you can give him next, it's kind of tough at lightweight right now. A lot of these guys are tied up. Eddie Alvarez would be a name that might make sense if he didn't just get the Dustin Poirier fight, but those two trained together, so that fight probably wouldn't happen regardless. Tony Ferguson, you'd have to imagine, is waiting on a title shot or waiting on a fight with Khabib. So again, that kind of takes Khabib out of the picture as well. Nate Diaz doesn't seem to want to fight anybody except for Conor McGregor, and I can't blame him because the money he's going to make for Conor McGregor probably at least triples whatever he'd make for anyone else. So why fight 3 top 5 guys when you can just fight McGregor, who you've already beaten and almost beat the second time? So for him to be very selective about his fights, you get it, and I don't expect to see him and Barboza signing anytime soon. So you have to wonder for Edson, who can you give him at this point? And I feel like, unfortunately, the answer for that is there really isn't anyone. Like, the best case scenario for Edson Barboza is that the Khabib and Ferguson fight somehow gets made for UFC 210. Because again, for Khabib, he's got Ramadan that he follows, so if you schedule a fight during Ramadan, he's not going to take it. And if you schedule it right after, he's not going to take it because he's not going to be training hard during Ramadan. So that fight has to happen soon, and if it's going to happen at all. If it does, then maybe you say, okay, well, we give Edson the loser of that and then see where he goes from there. But outside of that, it looks like Barboza is going to have to fight another guy who's ranked below him at lightweight, which is kind of unfortunate because he's really working his way towards a title shot. But the top of the lightweight division right now is really crowded and it's really backed up. For Beniel Dariush, this is a really tough loss for him. The thing that concerns me is that knockout was so brutal that you have to wonder how he's going to fight when he comes back. When you have guys who get knocked out that bad, sometimes it kind of sits in their head. Now, as a guy like Dariush who likes to come forward and get really aggressive and isn't exactly the most tight with his striking technique, he gets a little wild at times. That's also what makes him really effective. And if he is too worried to do that because he remembers what happened with Barboza, that's going to make him a lesser fighter. Again, obviously when you get knocked out like that, you're not going to be able to take a shot as well. I don't know to what degree it's going to be, but again, that's also going to be a concern for him. And this isn't the same as Terry Edom, but you remember Terry Edom with the Edson Barboza fight prior to that, how he was a really good up-and-comer, looked really promising, took that knockout, and was never the same, and still isn't the same at this point. So you would hope for Beniel Dariush, It sounds like he was okay after the fight. Obviously, in the moment, he was out cold. Sounds like he was okay. Hopefully, he is okay. I'd like to see him take a good amount of time off after a knockout like that, but after he's recovered and ready to go, hopefully you give him a guy who's maybe outside the top 10. I don't know what the lightweight division is going to look like after what would hopefully be like a 6-month or so rest, but he has a lot of potential, and I'd like to see him fight against another top guy and see where he can go and see how he's going to recover from a fight like that.